Hi, my name's Charlie King, and I'm with Heroic Fatherhood, and welcome to the Mentor's Moment. Here, we answer questions by real dads who are seeking insight, advice, or a new perspective on some issue they're dealing with in their lives. In today's question, a dad asks, how is the bond between a father and his daughter different from the bond between a father and his son? Ooh, this is such a great question. I like to say that I have the salt and pepper shaker. I have the salt and pepper shaker of life. I've got a boy and I've got a girl. So I've got a little insight on this, but it is just my experience. Take it with a grain of salt. And as we say at Heroic Fatherhood, take the gold, leave the rest. So a lot of it is indescribable. It's just different. I have two teenagers. I have an older girl and a slightly younger boy, and the relationships are very different. Probably the best way that I can see from my perspective to distinguish the relationships between daughter and son is by just talking a little bit about them. My son consistently looks to me for a number of different things. He looks to me to see what it looks like to be a man. He looks to me to see what kind of decisions a man, a parent, a father makes in the world, because he's getting an idea of what it's going to look like for him as a man in the world. So for a little bit, I'm a little bit of a proxy of father of manhood for him. Now, he's going to end up making choices about who he is as a man as a direct reflection of that. Either he's going to say, I really liked what that guy did and I'm going to do more of that, or I really didn't like what that guy did and I'm going to do something different. But what he's looking at when he sees me is what's possible in the world, and that I love. When he sees what's possible in the world from me, it calls me forward to constantly be leaning into what's possible. What's the next thing? What's possible from here? How can I expand myself? How can I stretch myself in my comfort zone to try out new things, to lean into new areas? He also looks at the way that I interact with people. He looks at the way that I interact with my wife. How do husbands and wives interact with each other? He looks at the way that I banter with my friends. How do men interact together? He looks at the way I am in the world too. Like, does it look like that when you're a man, you're excited about life and you're out in the world and you're trying out new things and things make you happy and you're out and running around and you're effusive about stuff? Or are you exhausted every day that you come home and it all looks like work and you don't have time or energy for much else beyond going to work and coming home? These are constant daily reminders that it's an invitation as a father to up my game. Not up my game like work harder and do this, but up my game in my energy, up my game in my interaction with them, because our kids end up mirroring who we are in the world. And if we are effusive and we talk and we explore and we're curious about each other and what's going on in our lives, that's how they are wired moving forward. So again, my son is looking to me as a proxy of an idea of what it's going to look like to be a man. My daughter's different. So she doesn't look at that. But what she does see, she starts to see is what do relationships with men look like based on my relationship with my dad. There's no better description than this than a line I heard a long time ago. Is the words that I use to communicate with my daughter, the way that I communicate with my daughter becomes the narrative that she hears in her head when she's all alone. The same is true with boys and mothers. The narrative that our boys hear in their head is the language and the way that our wives interact with them. So for daughters, the way I speak and interact with her and her mom will become the voice that she hears in her head. That's a tall order. When I speak to her, am I encouraging her? Am I lifting her up? Am I giving her a soft place to land? Am I also calling her to try out new things, to experiment, to be willing to fail, to go out and try stuff? Absolutely on a good day. Am I making sure that I partner with her on things so that it's not a big top-down relationship? Sometimes it needs to be that way as a parent, but not all that often in my experience. Often there's partnership that we can create. Like, I've got a problem. We've talked about this thing and we've asked you to do this thing and it's not seem to be happening. How can we partner so that it happens? My daughter also sees the way I interact with my wife. And that's what she is going to come to expect is normal for both relationships and marriage. So how I interact with my wife becomes normal for the way that my daughter sees that men relate to women. how I interact with my daughter is the same. She's going to choose a partner in this life, and it is either going to be someone who is generally like me or generally not like me. And that's fine either way. I'm not really attached to it. She's either going to see the model that she saw from me and say, yeah, I like that, that worked for me, and I'm going to try that. Most of that is unconscious. Or she's going to go, wow, that really didn't work for me, and I'm going to choose something different, which is often the polar opposite. They're going to take a look, and they're going to try and figure out what's normal. Now, why I'm so excited about this and why it is so impassioned for me is that when she's out in the world on her own, when I'm not under the protective cover of dad, when she's not under that protective cover of dad, and she interacts with men, if she interacts with men that make her feel uncomfortable or treat her like a less than or use language that is slightly derogatory or are unwilling to partner or lift her up or encourage her or call her forward, she's going to say, that's abnormal. That's not what I'm used to. And then she gets to choose. And she gets to choose, do I want to be around that or do I not want to be around that? And if she notices that it's abnormal and it makes her uncomfortable, she will be empowered to make the choice, that's not something I want to be around. That's not a workplace I want to work in. That's not a friend I want to have anymore. That's somebody I went out on one date and I won't go out on another one with. The relationships with boys and girls are dramatically different, and yet they're also the same. They need our intimacy. They need our intimacy. They need us to be close to them. We're big huggers in our family. We hug a lot. We're big back scratchers in our family, right? Like, we're there, and that, while I work to not treat the kids different, our relationship is dramatically different, and the way that we communicate is different, and the types of things that we communicate is different, and my daughter's needs are different than my son's needs. So a lot of it is going to be different by default because they're just different human beings, and some of that is because of their personalities, and one's an older child and one's a younger child, and some of it is because one's a boy and one's a girl. So the takeaway is that they're not the same. You're gonna have to interact with them differently. That's just the way it is. But what I think is really critical is that you just make individual time for each one of them. There's always gonna be family time where it's, your spouse or your partner and your kids together, ta-da, and we're all together, and that's one relationship. And then there's that time when it's just you and your kids, and that's a different relationship. And then there's that relationship which is just you and that one child, whether it's you and your boy, you and your girl, or depending on what your family configuration is. Making time and space for you to be able to just have time with one child, that one child, is really critical, especially as they get a little bit older and you can go out with them a little bit more and they're in that place where they're really starting to articulate themselves, because you're gonna develop this way of interacting that is unique to the both of you. And it's like this little secret that you have. And it's like this sort of like, oh, we just connect like this. This is who we are as a relationship. So making time to be with your boy, making time to be with your girl. As always, this was a fantastic question, and please keep them coming. So now I have a question for you if you watch this video. How would you have addressed this dad's issue? Do you have a question you might like to ask for your own? And if you found this video entertaining or helpful, make sure to check out the other questions that dads asked. And lastly, I want you to remember, we become better men by spending time with good men. My name's Charlie King. I'm with Heroic Fatherhood, and this has been your Mentor's Moment.